Hi, I'm Andy. Luke and regulars know that every Sunday I do 200 Seconds Sunny, a scripted review of an episode. Well, this time, no script, no time limit. I'm going to open with a review of Abbott Elementary and then go into a first look at the first part of the crossover. And you can go to this timestamp here if you want to go straight to that. So I've watched about half a dozen episodes of Abbott Elementary. It's set around the keepers of the teachers in an underfunded school in South Philadelphia. The series was devised by Quinta Brunson, drawing on her mother's experiences as a teacher for 40 years. Quinta plays our point of view character Janine Teagues, an eager go-getter. And as the focal point, she kind of sums up a lot of what Abbott Elementary is about, and its tone. The most comparable sitcom I can use to recommend it to you is Parks and Rec. It's cozy, it's friendly, moral lessons were learned by everybody throughout. Although that said, it does make Parks and Rec look edgy by comparison. Janine Teague isn't miles away from Leslie Knope. We've got her strong maternal mentor figure, the sassy Italian teacher, the useless boyfriend, the cynical newbie, Mr. Eddie, who's good to latch onto, although he does have a habit of making Seth MacFarlane-style eye draws, the politically minded best friend who's a bit underwhelming, and the slightly odd janitor.
That's who runs the world, kids.
So I watched about a dozen episodes in preparation for this, and to be honest, it's not really my sort of show. It's too cuddly, it's too warmy-feely. I didn't think the writing was particularly sharp. If you do want a recommendation for a good episode to check out, the Halloween special in season 2 has a real community kind of vibe to it. Lots of colour, lots of fast-paced stuff. Lots of fun. I mean, it's not that I hate the show. I've got fairly high standards on comedy. I don't think Friends is particularly funny. I think The Big Bang Theory is corporate exploitation. But, I'm still stoked for the crossover. I think the fact that Sunny and Abbott Elementary are chalk and cheese, they're two completely different worlds in terms of the characters and in terms of the approach to story. And seeing these two narratives from different perspectives and that sort of completely different characteristics and colour could cook us really something special. It's already been revealed that my guess was right in that the cast of Paddy's Pub are appearing as volunteer teachers. Perhaps a better guide to what we might expect from this episode of Abbott Elementary is AP Bio. The show features Glenn Horton as a teacher locked into an elementary school where he'd rather not be. And while some lessons are learned, Horton's character is essentially soft Dennis. He's cynical, jaded, skeevy, morally corrupt. The ensemble of children are really well built with their own characteristics, unlike in Abbott where they seem to be more paint by numbers. Another interesting point in the overlap between Sunny and Abbott is Randall Einhorn, who is the executive producer who has directed about half of the Abbott Elementary shows and, of course, has directed a number of notable Sunny episodes. So now I'm just going to settle down and give my first opinions on the episode of Abbott Elementary. If you don't want spoilers, this is your time to go away. Let's see what's going down with volunteers.
It's 7:30 a.m. on a Monday.
The show begins much as any episode of Abbott does, with a setup to set out the plot frame. But while it abides by setup formula, there's an underlying edge. Something's not quite right. The tone culminates deliciously in random disaster and Ava's brilliant assumption about the coming supernatural proclivities of the gang.
You haunted now or something?
The teachers' discussion, very much formed for Abbott, how volunteers will help the deprived kids of their underfunded and overworked school. It introduces new viewers to key dynamics, Janine is struggling in contrast to Barbara and Melissa, experienced teachers. She's in a relationship with Gregory Eddy, and for a measure they discuss gay relationships, check Jacob, and Gregory and Mr. Johnson's composting problems. Only a sunny zealot would see this as stalling. It draws out the anticipated arrival with feels of dread. It plays on what we know, that the faculty have no idea of the destructive forces they've summoned. Our innocent babes assemble, and suddenly the demons appear. Almost immediately, Dennis spots the documentary cameras and moves to the other side of them, barely to be seen again. Very much in character. It makes writing much easier, now down to 11 players. No doubt we'll find out more about what Dirty Den got up to off screen when Sonny returns in May or June. In Abbott, Melissa is set up as a character with deep roots in working class Philly, so it's natural she recognises him. From fighting at an Eagles game, of course. This should derail it all from the off, but subverts that by forging bonds between the groups. There's a quite good string of Charlie illiteracy jokes. I'm pretty sure he gives the kids the outline to Starship Troopers here. Frank tells us he's previously lived outside. I welcome that story. We've a very frank way of dealing with compost. And of course he's the first to nearly come to blows with the Abbott staff over raccoon knowledge. He and the janitor, Mr. Johnson, are each show's most far-out oddballs. The acerbic clash is a perfect setup for Janine and Dee. Okay, pause this right here. Viewers of Abbott know Janine as a pure innocent, hoping for the best in people, and possessing doubts of confidence and self-esteem. Viewers of Sonny know Dee is an A-listed, violent, manipulative, amoral sociopath. In recent years, actress Olsen has performed Dee with a glint in her eye and a maniacal smile. It's a suggestion the horrors we've seen her commit are just the tip of the iceberg. So for just a moment, this pairing is worst case scenario. It suggests the school will burn. And it's subversion again. They bond deep. Janine might be the only woman we've ever seen Dee speak well of. It's positively eerie. Mac and Ava. Their first is a brief scene. Mac is standard needy. Ava is using him. She is a principal with a social media fixation and minimal effort applied to her job. To my mind, she's Abbott's venal opportunist. Immoral. Certainly the one with most in common with the gang. It's in keeping with her attitude as a predator that she lands on Mac the submissive. Coffee with the perfect design on, the builders and the bird's eggs. As temporary vice principal, Mac's neediness demonstrates value. So I do wonder if Dennis is coaching him from behind the scenes, but it's likely this is Mac showing how, when he's not held back, how resourceful he can be. Around the 1/3 mark, the gang are identified by Melissa, who's likely wandered into Paddy's once or twice, or once. From there, it's a smooth segue into details of the gang's recent carnage.
Hey, is it a crime to dump 100 gallons of baby oil in the Schuylkill?
And 500 Patty's Pub t-shirts.
And a Cybertruck.
Yes!
And a bandying about of the C word.
You criminals.
The latter is jarring in the most positive way. On Always Sunny, we've only ever heard the C word.
Criminals.
Rarely. Usually it's framed within a question or as an exasperation with clarification needed.
Criminals.
Something of an echo chamber or social bubble here.
Criminals?
And usually the gang aren't quite so honest about this status.
He's right, we're criminals.
Also missing from Sonny for far too long is shown legal consequences for criminal acts. This is a breath of fresh air then. That is Janine of all people as her ally is extra big laughs.
Crime is worth it, plain and simple.
I steered clear of reviews for the most, but one caught my eye. It described Volunteers as a crossover success that does right by the characters of both shows. And I completely agree. We can see it in Frank, Gregory and Johnson versus the Raccoon. It coasts along in automatic with the full gruesome keywords of lithium, urine, chili powder and pelts. And Frank in a cage, safest place for him. Sonia at 8 episodes a season has never felt natural or sustaining or just right. Dee is usually overshadowed by Dennis. His removal and Olsen placed against Abbott series lead Bronson is another gift. The co-teachers play off each other as consistent with established traits. Janine is firm about her relationship with Gregory, yet self-doubting and gullible enough to imagine Dee stands a chance. Dee is sure it's nailed down. Her form, it's man-styled man-eating and makeover, manipulation, aggression and post-defeat clinginess, denial and more clinginess. The Dee system, ladies and gentlemen. Barry's plot is far more Abbott-like, does what Abbott does best and is genuinely heartwarming. It's not the first time the show has talked about problems of literacy, notably in season 1's readathon. Its style as a white bread and wholemeal series is deployed to good effect on Charlie's education, a lost cause with footnotes signalling little victories. Volunteers ends quietly. The storylines are played to their logical end point. The week is over. Eva has grown tired and angry with Mac. The concept itself, though, does not feel played out, which bodes well for part 2. We likely see a lot more of Dennis and maybe other less seen characters like Vice Principal Mac, Jacob and Mr. Johnson. I'd certainly love a lot more of Melissa, her Philly roots and offer to disappear the gang. That's my best guess. This episode was so good, I'm already in for a part 3 of the faculty taking an after-hours drink in Paddy's. Let Mac tell Barbara about the Holy Steel. Get Frank and Eva teamed up for a scheme and shenanigans. Show Janine the glory hole. No, don't do that. That's possibly the worst story I've ever pitched, ever. I enjoyed Volunteers. Brilliant. In February, I'll be publishing my film on the making of The Nightman Cometh. Please be sure to stay tuned to find that. And the plug this time around is for a novel by my late friend Holly Miles. Myself and a group of other editors have worked on Another Time over the last year, and now this Irish young adult novel on women's rights is out. Links are in the description. I'll see you later.